everybody, it's Cash. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. By the time you see this, I will be long gone. I didn't intend to do another video before I went, but the last minute, the 11th hour, something really interesting happened in terms of pictures, and I thought I'll share those with you before I go. Plus a couple of clear my desk items, including the stock market going forward, some pictures for that, and the race for the governor's seat in Texas between Beto O'Rourke and Greg Abbott. And this other item, which concerns a Hindu temple. I'll get to that in a second. It's so exciting. I'm going to be disabling comments on this video and videos I may do. I don't know if I'm going to be doing them, but any videos I do while I'm away, because I'm not going to have time to read them or to reply to them, and that's kind of disrespectful if I don't. So I won't be allowing comments under this video. First of all, let's crack on with the US stock market. If you remember, I've done several sets of pictures for the market, and always there was that enormous dip or a sense of foreboding, a feeling that things were not going to go well for a while. But by the summer of this year, meaning right about now, things would start to get better, and they did. Everything was looking up, stocks went up, everybody was optimistic, and then it started going down again, and pessimism set in, and people were forecasting disaster. Now, over the past week or two, stocks have taken another dip, and I thought, let's take a look and see how things might go. But let me remind you, because I always have to do this, do not invest or sell or anything based on these pictures. It's an experiment. I have no idea if the pictures are always going to be right. In fact, let's board the Titanic. Because I don't want anybody taking action based on these pictures. They could be entirely wrong. But when I went into the energy of the stock market currently, there it is sitting below 30,000. And as I watched, it began to shunt across to the left. And there were two paths. One immediately, which basically showed it going down quite a long way, still further. But it looked like also somebody could decide to prop it up a little, to allow the little man to go to a higher path. At which point he could walk forward. That felt artificial though. It felt like it took effort and somebody behind the scenes was pulling strings. But anyway, it could possibly go to that slightly higher level and start moving forward. And then the path divided into two. One way led to a cleft in the cliff, which led to a steep drop and nowhere really. The other way took it down an artificial tunnel. It was quite steep, and left it at a much lower level. There wasn't really much to see, but there were little discs on the ground. And if the little man stood on one of the discs, it started to rise. This could be a stock, it could be a sector. I don't know, but the confidence brought on by that rising caused another one over there to rise, and then another one over there to rise. It seemed like there was a base level to this, after which confidence would return. But I thought, you know what I should do? I should take a stock. I'm not going to tell you what the stock is for the same reason that I don't want people investing in it, but I took a stock, a pretty good stock, that sunk down to $83.50, very, very far below what it was at its height. And I decided to follow that through and see what happened to it. Immediately there were a couple of steps up, as though people thought, oh good, we've reached a foundation now, we can start building again. And maybe for a couple of weeks that was the case, because it moved along, it then got to a ridge, and this ridge, which may have enthusiasm and optimism built into it, this ridge took the little man, the stock, to another one of those tunnels, those artificial tunnels. It went down a little bit more trepidatiously than the stock market generally had done, but it still went down. So there must be something happens, if the pictures are right, to spook the market. Something to do with Russia, something to do with the January 6th committee or the DOJ indicting Trump or something. I don't know what, but it seemed like there was another drop. But as with the main stock market pictures, when the little man got out of the tunnel at the bottom, that was the point where it started to build. And it will be so interesting to see between now and November, because I think this is probably a 3-month, 4-month period, although timing is a horrible thing for me. But over this next 3 or 4 month period, it'll be very interesting to see how that pans out, if it pans out at all. Remember, we are on board the Titanic here. But anyway, moving on, the thing that really excited me in the past couple of days was that somebody said, have you ever thought of doing pictures for a Hindu temple? Quick answer, no. But I said, look, no, but if you want to suggest one, I could have a look. So I took this one, which is the Sun Temple of Kanark or Kanark, I'm not quite sure, but it's in India. It dates back to the year 1250 AD and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, justifiably, because it's absolutely amazing. I know it's in ruins, but it's still absolutely amazing. The number of carvings on it and sculptures. It's supposed to be a stone chariot. It's about 100 foot tall, and it has enormous stone wheels on the side that also act as sundials. And there were horses on plinths pulling the chariot along, plus a tower, which is no longer there, at the back. And this structure faced east, so that the first glimmer of the sun coming over the horizon would enter the temple. And somebody said, would you please take a look at this? Now, why this is incredible is that everything I've just told you, I didn't find out until after I'd done the pictures. The way I do it is I get a picture. I use this one, actually, which is really beautiful. I get a picture of the person or the place or whatever. I do my pictures, and then afterwards, I look it up. So let me tell you what the pictures were, because they're absolutely fascinating, and they came incredibly quickly when I saw that picture. I immediately got an image in my head of a person hanging in midair inside the building. But it wasn't just suspended from nothing. There were beams crisscrossing from side to side and forming a kind of web that held the person in place in the middle. And that was really it, except that when I looked at the other building, the tower, there were sparks, a shower of sparks raining down from the top of the tower to the bottom. And I wrote on my notes, power source. There seemed to be some connection between the tower and whatever its function was, and the body, the person, suspended in the middle of the other building. Almost like the source of its power was the tower. But I should say that when I saw that figure floating inside the building, it had some kind of power of its own. Now I know that these ancient gods were a product of tribal superstition. You get enough people to believe in the script and the god becomes real. Not because it is real, but because enough people believe it is. That's their perception. But there was, even so, something quite remarkable about the power inside this building, and I felt it incredibly strongly. There is a belief, maybe it's a myth, maybe it's factual, that the main building there had a 50-ton magnet in it, with other magnets around the sides that held in place a metal idol, so that the idol appeared to float inside the temple. It ties in exactly Even if it is a myth, it ties in exactly with the pictures I saw of the floating person. And I would say that whether you believe the myth or not, there was some serious cosmic spiritual energy inside this temple. And finally, I took a look at the race in Texas between Greg Abbott, who is the incumbent governor, and the Democrat Beto O'Rourke. I have done these two a couple of times before, as you know. In the first set of pictures, Beto was trailing and Greg Abbott was pushing ahead. I can't do winning or losing, but he was pushing ahead. In the second set, Beto got to a high ridge and Greg Abbott was below him, going, what? How did you get up there? How did that happen? So I thought I'd take a look again because it's constantly shifting, particularly since Greg Abbott has now a horrible, horrible track record of his behavior towards immigrants and towards the people in Texas, frankly. He doesn't seem to care about them at all. And you do wonder how he keeps getting re-elected. So I went into the energy for the two of them again. There they are. And as I've said previously, in these pictures, Greg Abbott, who is in a wheelchair in real life, actually gets to walk because I can't draw wheelchairs. It's just a fact. Anyway, so I went into the pictures and immediately Beto O'Rourke was arguing with Greg Abbott, making points. But he was talking policy. He was talking initiatives and what would be best for people, what would be best for Texas. Greg Abbott was completely dismissive of this. I mean, Beto O'Rourke was saying, how could you do this? How can you behave in this way? Surely you need to treat people better. Greg Abbott was just walking by going, this is why you'll lose, Beto O'Rourke. This is why you can't win. You're too concerned with things like principle and facts and people. That's not the way to win in Texas. And he walked on. Beto O'Rourke, not to be defeated in this, went and pulled him back and said, come on, dude. Because that's how they talk to each other. Come on, dude. Let's discuss what's best for Texas. You can't keep behaving the way you've been behaving. And that, as incredible as it may seem in 2022, is Beto O'Rourke's Achilles heel. He's using policy arguments against showmanship, grandstanding, and a kind of sadistic disregard for people's welfare. It's all about me, 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 not all of us. And Beto O'Rourke is saying, what about all of us? That's the way of the age of Aquarius. These old dinosaur-y politicians are still stuck in the old ways. They will die out. Their approach will die out. But right now, they're carrying a lot of voters with them. And in the pictures, Greg Abbott was very disdainful. That's why you guys can't win here. You're arguing policy, common sense, compassion. People don't want that in Texas. It was kind of frightening. They came to the ramp that I always see. And Beto O'Rourke, still trying to make his points, scrambled up the ramp. Only what he did was he plastered the ground with grease, then throws drawing pins down or tacks or whatever those things are. So that when Greg Abbott comes, it's almost like, oh, finally, Beto O'Rourke, finally you're putting up a fight. Finally, you're playing the Republicans at their own game. Good for you. Very last minute, though. Greg Abbott sees this coming. He's a seasoned campaigner. He knows. And he steps over the drawing pins and the grease with a wry smile on his face, like, you thought you could catch me out? We're old hands at this. You're not gonna defeat us that way. Now, as I said, I have no idea who will win, but it is a fascinating race because it pits the new ways, the new approaches of love, kindness, compassion, inclusion, and so on, against these old archaic ways that are dying out and which revolve around getting as much money as possible, being as powerful as possible, owning as much as possible, keeping the other out. If Beto O'Rourke loses, then it's a sign, surely, of where the US is right now. That it's still inching towards these Aquarian ideals. It does guarantee that the old ways will die out, but places like Texas are not there yet. It may take a while for the dinosaurs to die out, along with their ideas. But they will die out, as will their ideas. The future is about acceptance and love and forgiveness and kindness and peace and harmony. The good stuff. The stuff that accords with universal intelligence rather than the human ego, which wants and needs and grasps and claws at the backs of rivals to get ahead. That's all going. The new ways are coming, but I don't know whether Beto O'Rourke is riding that particular wave. We'll see. Alrighty, as I said, I'm away. You may hear from me in the next few days if I can somehow figure out how to upload videos from my phone. Otherwise, I will see you when I get back. For all those people who wanted to know what was happening to Olive while I was away, the cat lady is coming in again. She loves the cat lady, possibly more than she loves me, frankly. And so all is well. She is going to be beautifully taken care of and nurtured and pampered and indulged. So don't worry about her. All right, so I'll see you very soon, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.